Hey everybody, this is another episode of the Chug Life podcast, and I've got a very special guest here today. Zach is with me. We're going to be discussing some pretty interesting topics coming off of our last episode. And Zach, how you doing, bud?
Oh, I'm here. A little bit of booze. A little bit of moods, you know.
A good amount of booze. It's Zach's birthday. So we got a nice bottle of Jameson we're getting through. And as we mentioned last podcast on what kind of led to communism as a whole, the struggles in Russian society and just the absolute horror that people had grown up in, and generations of Russians had gone through this. And at some point, all of that explodes, and communism comes out of this struggle. And what's really awesome about all of that is that it does come to something that actually becomes implemented. And so we can study what the effects were, as well as what were the aftermaths of these experiments. So out of this whole idea, you have probably 10 countries or so, some maybe even more, that had communist revolutions. Fucking Zach's phone.
I'm working on it, man. All right. Solid.
So, as I was saying, we have a bunch of countries that see what Lenin and his buddies do and what they lead millions of people to do. And a bunch of countries are kind of born out of this. So today we kind of wanted to look at what that looked like. And I mean, is there anywhere that you would like to start?
I mean, early Russia is a good example. I mean, most nations have, well, it depends where you're at, but right now I think the most prosperous version that we see is China.
China's pretty capitalist, though.
They are, but I mean, quote unquote, communist party, right? So it's easier to break that down and kind of explain that to a person who hears the word communist.
Do you ever think about how close capitalism and communism have a sort of kind of symbiotic relationship? Like you can almost fuse the two.
I mean, that's just social capitalism, really. I mean, once that corporations take hold, it's no longer communist in its essence.
Mm-hmm. Because I mean, if you still have a state to begin with, it's kind of antithetical to what communism is. Because communism is really a being that there isn't a state at the end of communism. You know, the state essentially is dissolved.
Yeah, but the whole idea behind communism relies heavily on community. Us as a community would build and take the needs of production, if you will, if you were to go for like Marxist communism. There's just different forms, and it's hard to put everything under one umbrella and say this is that. That's the whole idea with politics, though, is like you've got so many different branches where you have social democracy, or I mean, socialized capitalism. You have, I mean, most European countries would be called socialist as well. At least in the terms of the United States, where we bastardize certain words just to push political agenda.
Well, to be fair, in American culture, there's also versions of socialism.
Yeah, but so, we don't call it that here.
Fair enough, but to look at how that begun is kind of a story in itself. It's kind of a thing of the Red Scare in the times of Joseph McCarthy hawking about communist lists.
I mean, you could kind of say that, but at the same time, we had like FDR who implemented those, but he relabeled them.
I mean,
as
you're
great
talking
things.
about the New Deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, the New Deal, I guess. But it's also your if you want to stand by that fact, I would say that they were also judged as socialists at that time.
Yeah.
So they kind of did have to live with that label as well from like their right wing pundits,
Well, yeah, it was a media scare. A media
100%.
existed in different ways. It was newspapers and radio versus what we see today. People now have a visual representation, and I feel like media back then might have been way less biased, or depending what political party you ran for, that could change.
I think the fairness doctrine probably has something to deal with that. Regulating how much truths you can have and how many fact checks you need per lie was a pretty good way to keep big companies and shitting journalists in check,
Well, and that's the thing, is that does not stop them from spouting what you would call maybe a false truth. You just don't say, you just kind of pedal back around it. I mean, it was kind of like when the whole COVID thing happened, Fox News station wasn't saying like, oh, COVID's fake, and I'm sure some of them were, but
it's crazy to think that was 6 years ago, dude.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely unreal times.
But there's so many people denying the shit. It's insane.
Dude, people act like there weren't people getting stuffed in fucking trucks with, freezer trucks, because we literally didn't have the room to be able to put people through morgues and get them buried. And we could not keep up. Like in New York, you could fucking go and check this shit out. It is absolutely horrible. But in New York, you could not get buried for a time. And that is what Trump brought. Because you got to remember, this all started about some bullshit that it didn't even exist.
Yeah.
That he's going to stop it. It'll be gone in a few weeks, bro. And that ended up going quickly into spray bleach into your fucking self. Inject yourself with bleach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, only a few people believe that, to be fair, but there are those little idiots out in the world that ruin it for the rest of the idiots. But that's just humanity as a whole. That's kind of how you get into these programs. Oh, yeah. That's how people kind of get into this shit, is they listen to what other people have to say and only believe that. And so that's kind of where it comes right back to communism, is that people have bastardized the word so much instead of actually understanding it. So it's a community that invents their own rules and does their own things. Corporations don't belong in that. And with capitalism, it completely and thoroughly thrives merely off of corporate exploitation, if you will. I mean, technically, we do have socialist programs, and all those socialist programs exist for corporations.
Well, I do want to just kind of cut through it all and go right to that implementation of the communist ideal of abolishing money. And it's kind of mind-blowing to think about another system that would be similar to bartering almost. That's not money. You're essentially going straight back to the roots and the origination of life as a whole, because that's how it was done back in basically caveman times.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, technology's a thing now. Bartering's great if we're like looking to trade farm goods, services like mowing a lawn, building a house, anything like that. But we're in a time where money is seen as a value and an asset. It's kind of different. A lot more people aren't willing to kind of get their hands dirty to do that kind of work, because we live in a generation that we actually have created automation in a sense to where we don't have to do those things anymore. And the people who specialize in those things make this legal tender, as opposed to like getting something in return for it.
So what are the chances that through almost going back to a barter system, you don't unintentionally create a separate class in itself?
No, and innovation won't slow down either. I mean, scientists will still exist. There's plenty to do. Trading is just be different. We need to kind of open the hatch here and see what we can do as a society to pitch in together without the need of corporations. I mean,
so are you imagining essentially like a huge, basically Facebook kind of Craigslist type deal for jobs and things that you can do for positions? Maybe is there like a list for everybody that is qualified for this position? And if there is a list, is there a training to qualify that person for that position?
no.
How does that do these, like, per se, if you're a doctor in the modern current right now, and through communism, what is that doctor's? Are they going to continue to be a doctor in the new age? And how would that person get their benefits from society, you know?
Well, first and foremost, healthcare is needed and it's supplied. I mean, in communism's ideal, I mean, even China gets free healthcare. We are literally in a country that does not certify healthcare to everybody. And communism certifies that. Well, for the most part, it's hard to say like the whole ideal, but it changes depending on who you ask. But communism with a heavy amount of socialism generally caters to, you know, affordable groceries, anything of that sort, free healthcare, public school buses, anything in that general idea. I mean, you're contributing to your community and you're getting programs back. The thing is that it won't be up to a bunch of senators to say we vote this in. Communism would be an ideal of we put it out as a community and decide it ultimately together. So one person equals one vote. Let's say we put a vote out, gets on public news, television, all syndicated nationally across everywhere in the United States, and you run to a poll and you vote if you want that program. And that's ultimately smarter than letting Congress do it. Because I mean, if you put things in the right words to somebody who actually just hears something at face value instead of keywords thrown out, oh, it's socialism, it's communism, you go, hey, I think kids should have school lunches. Community votes on it. Everybody's like, hell yeah, everybody. You know, like, what evil person just goes up and says, oh kids shouldn't have this? But I mean, that's not to say, like, it's a failed... I mean, there's a bunch of examples of a failed system, but you can say right now that the capitalism that we are living in is failing too, because look at the number of homeless people.
Is there no homelessness then in the communist society?
I mean, there's always going to be homelessness no matter where you go, but if you look at certain places, I mean, you could be guaranteed some kind of shelter at least. I mean, but you can't always have control of like mental illness or certain things, but those programs will be there. That's the difference.
That is a pretty huge difference to, you know, currently having Medicare, having Medicaid, all these programs stripped, and the government just cutting through social programs with a chainsaw, as Elon Musk said. You know, that is a stark difference, I would say, but I am wanting to give a little bit more air to what the counterpoint of this conversation would be, being that who would be the supreme Soviet? How would that program, and after that initial level of voting, who is the guy and the guys that are coming out of this voting section to kind of be the main guy, the Stalin of that, or the Xi of that program.
Generally, it's the person who speaks the loudest, who has the best ideals, and be no different from having a president. The only difference is that we can implement those laws as a community. We would be able to override our president's word because our community doesn't see it fit.
So I think that there would need to be some safeguards for having a cult of personality come out of this.
I mean, we already have one. I feel like every defense becomes another argument, That's the whole thing about political ideology you run into. Well, we already deal with this, or we already deal with that. The difference is that corporations aren't controlling people. And if your politics aren't paid by those corporations, they're more likely to do things for the people. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole ideal. I mean, money in politics is kind of where we're at right now. Unfortunately, that's why communism as a whole, more people are open to it now, or more people are open to socialism, which is completely a different game. I mean, but being able to own the rights to the companies you work at. I mean, you look at unions, there's shareholders. Every worker is like a piece of that company, right? It would be like that, but for the whole country. Mm-hmm. And I think that's great. I think that ensures that we get where we need to be and where our kids are. Right now is not a good place. No. I mean, have you looked at like the job market right now?
Dude, fucking unemployment is something I don't even want to think about, man. Because I just know that I myself, trying to get out of my current job and get out of the contract world, it's fucking horrible. There's fucking jobs just straight up like scamming motherfuckers, bro. Like, they'll be like, oh yeah, we'll pay you a salary, and then you get in, they're like, we're paying you $17 an hour. Motherfucker, do you know what a salary is, bro? Like, it's just fucking unreal, man.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of have a system where people can be exploited. That's why communism's beautiful. It's because people make the law. I mean, that's why people get into unions. But the problem is that the name is kind of sullied because, I mean, people have used labels that have completely hurt those things. Yeah. But if we use that straw man, we could then turn around and say, well, capitalism doesn't work because of Donald Trump. I can definitely say that he does make it worse. He isn't the sole factor to it. Money in politics specifically, and people being bought out entirely. Communism ensures that isn't an issue. I mean, it can happen, I'm sure, under communism, but it had to be some under the table shady shit.
I mean, shit. Just to add to your point, the IRS came out and said that their direct file option, like the file for that program, it's fucking gone. Just like, it's like if fucking TurboTax lobbyists walked in there themselves, bro. Like, and that's probably what fucking happened. Them motherfuckers walked out with that shit. We'll probably, the 2026 version of TurboTax is gonna be fucking credible because it was funded by our fucking taxpayer dollars.
Fucking over our taxpayers. It's yeah, no, the whole system is it's pretty broken. People are starting to realize it, though. And it's really cool to see. I mean, more people are waking up to different political ideologies, different scenarios, and realize that life's really not fair here. I mean, I was just reading a thing that stated basically if we were at the minimum age for the baby boomers' prosperous times, we'd be making $66 an hour right now.
Fuck, dude.
Like, that's adjusted to economics from back in, the 50s, 60s.
$66 an hour, making well over $100,000 a year. Fucking shit, dude. That's incredible.
I mean, you hear them and they're like, I bought this house for a nickel and 2 goats.
Yep.
I also spit a grape in his mouth. But I mean, like, the difference is just entirely. I mean, even going to the grocery store back in the 90s, I would see my mom fill a cart for like $35 at Aldi. Hell, even when my son was born, 12 years ago, I'd be able to fill one for like $65.
Oh, fuck the Obama days. Oh.
I mean, the Obama days weren't perfect either. It's another.
Fuck no. I mean, shit ain't been good since the Supreme Court fucked Al Gore. All right.
I think it was even before that. I mean, to be honest with you, I think it starts with the Reagan and Nixon era of time in between those that allowed corporations to do a lot more against people. Reaganomics, trickle down economics.
Dude, you ever heard a guy named J. Edgar Hoover?
Yeah.
I think he's truly where everything just went fucking wrong.
Yeah, some can argue that, yeah.
I mean, like, that motherfucker literally had the FBI by the balls because he created it for almost 80 years.
Yeah. I mean...
Like, dude, the control, like, the amount of fucked up shit that this man did through every section of politics through the fucking 70s, bro, up to I believe the 80s.
Well, where we can argue that, I mean, we can go all the way back to fucking George Washington. Still in that time, it was all the rich people who made those rules and laws. But
I mean, you want to talk about the slaveholders?
Yeah, I mean, that too. I mean, the rich have always just kind of prospered throughout the United States as a whole. Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, a lot of people are expected to build from nothing while they're like, most wealth is very generational. And that's the thing is the tax rates. I mean, capitalism's tax rates are insane for the average citizen. We eat taxes and rich people don't even blink an eye at them. It's insane. Billionaires specifically. There's a thing where, like, you look at, like, politicians like Bernie Sanders, and everybody's like, he's a millionaire. He hasn't worked a day in his life. Actually, he ended up putting out his fucking resume, and he was a carpenter. Yeah. But he hasn't worked a day in his life.
Wow.
But getting back to my point there is that everybody thinks in capitalism is the harder you work is the more that you get. So you're telling me that Jeff Bezos worked his ass, he worked harder than a fucking coal miner?
Mm-hmm.
No, like, his parents gave him a shit ton of money. He built some shit out of his garage.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think
economics is one of the most important values when it comes to talking about communism. It's just...
But the start of this country as a whole, like, to your point, was to embolden entrepreneurs because it was a colonist country. You had it. The only way you got over here is if you spent a lot of money to get over here, or you were sent over here because they didn't fucking want you back in England, most likely, or Ireland, or Scotland. It was the English crown that filled the colonies up with the prison because guess what? Australia was fucking full, essentially, okay? In their minds. Because Australia was their previous penal colony, but fun fact, the Americas was their second penal colony. And that's why a lot of fucking people ended up being rat bastards in their time. And even hell, there's, you go to the second generation, that's of course the first peoples that are born over here. Sure, you can say that they are going to be innocent, but up to a point, they start colonizing also themselves. These are the people that end up going westward, or they end up going south, running into the Seminole, going to Georgia, or what now would be Georgia. And they end up going west as well. Their third generation ends up going and colonizing the rest of the West and the Midwest. And so, I mean, to begin with, the history of America itself, it is born on what some would even say is an imperialist tendency or an imperialist ideal to conquer, to take over, to continue, putting yourself on this next level of greatness, even on the top of the bodies that you piled.
Well, and the difference is while we did, I think, encourage entrepreneurship, and I encourage it entirely. I think it's great. However, to be able to hoard billions of dollars is not entrepreneurship. That's just greed. I mean, if you can make a really good living for your family, if you make a marginal tax rate, you go back to FDR. I think it was for every million a dollar. I don't remember exactly. I'm not going to botch those numbers, but they were entirely different. I mean, you go back to FDR's time and they were taxing you like
55 upwards.
No, 90% past every certain million.
Shit.
Yeah. But it was for every dollar. It wasn't like for the million, and everybody tries to act like that would just take all of your money. I'm sorry. There needs to be a cap. There needs to be a cap, because once people get so wealthy, they don't give it out.
Yeah.
They hoard it.
Or stash it offshore somewhere where you could never fucking know.
Which should be illegal. I think, if anything, we as a society should be able to take that money back to our country.
We've got to fucking think about this for a second. What are the big repercussion, just kind of drifting off this conversation real quick, but it does also have something to do with wealth as a whole and the hoarding of wealth. So when the Epstein list does come out, because I'm of the belief it will 100% come out, all right, whether it's because Donald himself is kicking or screaming, but I do want to say, today, Chuck Schumer went out and apparently
Chuck Schumer.
5 members of the oversight committee. So there's an old rule. It's called the rule of 5. And essentially when 5 members of this committee decide to call this rule, it's a 100-plus-year-old rule. It's never been used, never been called. It's unknown, basically. When it happens, it forces the executive branch to hand over whatever the fuck it is they want. And it's essentially the way the Oversight Committee is able to enforce their rulings and whatever the fuck they want to do over the executive branch. Now, here's the thing. In a world where the Epstein list does come out, is that wealth, because I'm assuming it's going to be some wealthy motherfuckers, is most of that wealth going to be found to be overseas?
Well, that's no secret. I mean, the richest people in the world have Swiss bank accounts or anything like that, and they're known to put their wealth overseas because then they don't handle the taxes on that. Also, there's also a very exploitable system where they can have those stocks, and all they do is put their money in their stocks.
I mean, that's what.
And then they do the buybacks. Yeah,
that's how he bought Twitter. He used.
And then
his Twitter,
you borrow it from the bank and pay it back at the lowest rate possible.
Bro, it's fucking insane.
If you're rich, you just get richer.
He created the XAI shit as a LLC, separate entity, and he basically purchased the fucking debt so that way Twitter or X is free from that debt.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like he literally, it's just like broad daylight fucking fraud ass shit, dude.
Yeah, but the thing is that's how capitalism was designed, especially after Reaganomics came. This is people using it as intended, and this is the banks that support it.
Yeah, I mean, shit. To think about.
But how many homeless people do we have?
Oh, fuck, millions.
We have one of the highest per density, homeless populations. I mean, and man, there's people who are causing homelessness than trying to build societies where they're kicking those homeless people out. I mean, what's his name? Gavin Newsom?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of laws against the homeless.
Yes. I've seen videos of him personally kicking homeless people out. Like, it is fucking insane.
Yeah, but everybody sucks his dick because he's like, oh, I hate Trump. And they're like, yeah, That's my problem with the left. They're so
I'm
fucking
gonna be
squirreled out.
Completely honest, dude. The one thing that really broke
Not the
me
left.
away,
Sorry, the Democrats. They're not left.
The thing that broke me away from Newsom, because I was initially that guy, and I saw or I listened to his Joe Rogan interview, and I was just so fucking shocked. Like it felt like the guy would say just fucking anything.
Oh, he ponied up to all the Trump guys.
Dude, it felt so fucking weird, you know, like if there was like when I first heard Biden per se, like I was just in love. I was like, this guy is somebody that loves his family, he loves his friends, he seems like a loyal dude, like somebody that I would want.
I will not die on that hill.
Huh?
I will not attest to that.
I mean, hey, that's you. And I think that listening to fucking Newsom talking to Joe Rogan, I was just kind of like, fuck this guy.
I think a general population of these people want to get in what's popular. And they do that because they know a general consensus will do it. Nobody stands on their laurels. They stand on what they see has a popular vote to it. So they get their votes. There's nothing else to their ideals. They don't have ideals. They get those positions in power so they can be fed money by corporate constructs to then acquire that money to vote against those people's interests. I mean, we can talk Biden for days, but policy was not great on his end. And not to mention, if anything didn't pass,
I'm going to be honest, dude, there hasn't been a president in the last 20 plus years to have solid, good policy. But Biden
was better than what we've had in the past 20 years, policy-wise.
Like, if there was a president, even above Obama, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Obama shat the fucking bed on committing war crimes. But Joe Biden didn't bomb fucking motherfuckers having weddings and shit. Like, I know the bar is fucking low, but when you have presidents who have been off the fucking chain for 20 plus years, and I'm sure you can even go as far back, fuck it, as the motherfuckers that started fucking Vietnam and all that shit, but presidents themselves, you know, we're not talking about Cheney, we're not talking about Kissinger's. Presidents, in my opinion, they're as good as your cabinet. They're as good as your chief of staff and as good as the people that surround them. And Biden has been by far, and I would debate this all fucking day, he has been by far the best Democratic president that we have had since FDR.
Yeah, the problem is the bar is so low at this point that, like, you've got to commend him for the small fucking things that he was able to do. However, we're not looking at the things that he could have done if he really had cared about his policy like that.
I'm assuming you're talking about not pressuring, per se, Israel harder. Assuming you're talking about not going further with Ukraine.
This man, do you remember the Green New Deal?
Yeah.
This man could have played hardball with, say, Kirsten Sinema and fucking Joe Manchin. Could have sat them down in his office and be like, hey, look, what do you want passed? What are we looking for? We can come to a resolution. He didn't do that. He just snapped his fingers and went, oh, drat. Like, that's not... If you want to be president, you got to hardball this shit. You can't just, oh, no, they didn't vote for what I want. No, you pull that motherfucker in your office and you try and work with them because they have a corporate interest and they're going to vote against most of what you do. So, I mean, being a president and the person in power, you know what you can do? Make sure that every little piece of media is on the attention of that person to make sure that everybody knows. And if there's an issue, you fucking primary against them, which would make it even funnier. But the fact we're in a system like this, they did not.
Cinema's gone. Manchin's gone.
Since when? I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Only because I say that because it feels like the Democratic Party has so many, like...
If those people do speak out, they have a vote, and you rile on them harder than initially just being like, hey, this is our plan, we would like you to vote on it because X, Y, and Z. And they come out, they shit on you. They go on TV and fucking rail on you and make that turn like Manchin did, and eventually Cinema fucking did it super fucking quick. But Manchin was such a fucking player and tried really hard to play both sides. And I don't think it is to the fault of Democrats that people were snaky fucking rat bastards and went as far to play ball and get concessions and then not vote where they were said to vote. You know, there's only so much that you can do to have awareness to an issue and to talk to people before you pressure them into outright saying, fuck you, I don't want to do this. And that's something that you've seen across the board with Republicans who play both sides. Lisa Murkowski, for a fact, she sold off the rest of the U.S. so Alaska could get a credit for taxes and some shit put into a bill. And that's, you know, you're going to try to go across the board and meet those kind of people. I think that there is only so much pressure you can do before you turn off those people forever.
I think we need to stop reaching across the aisle and actually see our fucking ideals. That's the problem.
It's very fun.
We've reached across.
When we have a majority or when we have even a few votes ahead on the issue, you know, it's great. But when you don't have a majority and when you are squarely in the minority across the board, it goes back to the voter base. And you kind of have to consider whether the voter base betrayed or stopped believing in the message, the party in the beginning, and maybe they left and they voted somewhere else where they felt their vote was needed. Is it fair to say that it is squarely on the party for not being broad enough, but also then to say, hey, we need to stop trying to be more broad and get more votes?
Well, the problem is they're so worried about votes that they won't think for their ideals itself. That's the issue, first and foremost. The second issue is that the Democratic Party isn't really left. I mean, if you look at their base, or if you look at what they strive for, they go, every other country, our Democrats are right. Our right is far right. All right, and we're back. This restroom break brought to you by Carl's Jr.
No, that's not. We're not actually. It's not a sponsorship. All right, don't. But hey, if you want to give us your money, that's cool too.
Hell yeah, brother.
We can do that. This is definitely not sponsored by Swift. Absolutely not.
Oh God, no.
No.
We might just die from being sponsored by them.
Yeah, that probably have some really bad legal ramifications.
I'd probably just be running into walls for existing.
You know, we'd probably end up in another person's house.
You know what SWIFT stands for?
What?
Sure wish I finished training.
You know, but that could probably get me sued. All right, fuck.
You ain't got no Peterbilt, boy.
Oh Lord, this is not a sponsorship or any of that bullshit. Don't fucking sue me.
It's an idiocracy joke.
Back
if you've ever seen that?
It's a very good movie. Like, it's incredibly relevant.
Yeah, oh yeah, the dude gets paid every time he says it too. He's like, brought to you by Carl's Jr.
Like, it is so fucking good to just like. You snap back to mid 2000s or early 2000s and everything just hits.
Yeah.
It's unreal. If you hadn't, Idiocracy, go check it out on, I'm pretty sure it's Hulu. Maybe it's Netflix. I don't know.
I don't know.
Hulu.
Terry Crews is the fucking president, though.
100%. He's fucking incredible. But you can go and watch that shit right now. I recommend it. Anyhow, back to our communism and socialism conversation. We had a lot of information to throw at you, but we are just going to bring it right back into what implementation looks like. So we figured out what it looks like when you vote for somebody, and there's going to be some form of Congress for this?
It all depends. You build your own administration, so it would probably be more community driven, to where you see, as you live in this town, this is how we contribute to this town. Or it could be the city, it could be our whole state. It all just depends. There's different ways you can operate it. Doing it in a manner that works for capitalist society, you have to first get over the pains of it, which are, I mean, it's got a bad rap, man.
I mean, are you killing people to
No.
get all this wealth? Like, how? I'm assuming people aren't going to do it willingly.
I mean, we could talk about the medical system for days.
Well, just the idea of seizing the wealth, right? Because in order for the wealth to not exist, you have to seize it. You have to essentially burn all of paper money, no?
Well, and you're not completely seizing everybody's wealth. You're taking from the richest.
Huh. So
Like,
essentially, like, over a certain million, you're going to be having your shit confiscated, or is it a percentage?
I mean, it'd be a giant tax.
So wouldn't you say, if you were to have somebody like an FDR who were to come in with fat fucking taxes on the wealthy, is that somebody who you would say is communist?
I know that would be socialist. But socialism and communism kind of go hand in hand. There can be socialism in a communist society. I mean, communism is kind of a more broad ideal.
But you can't have communism in a socialist society.
Yeah, absolutely.
How so?
Well, I mean, it just depends on how things are run. I mean, socialism is like kind of like this ideal that the money you spend goes back into the community. So, I mean, it goes hand in hand, but socialism is not the same as communism. There's a lot of gray areas to clear up there.
So obviously the IRS ceases to exist because we don't want that money being funneled.
Or I mean, for a communist, but like for a socialist would say that money should be distributed, into public funding.
So from the IRS to like the Department of, SNAP and the Department of Unemployment, and so where
they go hand in hand.
What's going to happen to, per se, like the Department of Justice?
Like the cops,
the Army,
yeah, the FBI,
Navy, the Air Force.
I mean, we would still keep those. Why wouldn't we? I mean, every country's got a fucking military. But I can say that the military budget won't be as swollen. I mean, when you look at it, how much money was the Pentagon unable to account for?
Oh, hundreds of billions.
Could be damn near trillion.
Yeah, probably down here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of says something. And that's the thing is, like, communism would say that we make it everything we spend on a public record. I mean, if the community is a part of it.
So you're not having like slush funds anymore?
No.
Okay.
No, everybody gets a say, man.
But hold on. So if we're in a communist society, we've abolished the IRS, who's going to be keeping track of this? We're going to need the IRS. We're just going to have to restructure.
Exactly.
And so you're talking about essentially, okay, do we clean out all these institutions and put only communists and socialists in these positions? What do you do for, per se, Republicans, conservatives, liberals, center guys?
I mean, the system wasn't built to be like that. I mean, our system was built to be like that.
Okay, so the party system as a whole abolished.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're voting for people specifically,
it's on their merits and values.
Okay. And
if it has a label on it, it makes it even worse.
So essentially, if I were to talk to another person, I'm like, hey, I want to go and run for this, and I get that person to vote for me, that's how we will run this kind of little campaign thing?
Exactly.
Okay.
And one person should equal one vote as well.
Yeah. So in this society, we get this person elected, what is that person just going to be kind of like the governor, the mayor now, and or do you have governors and mayors? Like, how does that system end up antiquating? How do you connect?
You could have governors and mayors. That's up to the society itself to figure that out. But for the most part, when there comes to be the most organized person in town, or somebody who has the most knowledge or power, they generally are able to use that in their leverage. I mean, there's no...
So you would still have people who were governors, who were mayors, who would be running for these positions.
Yeah, I mean, but they'd speak for the people. They wouldn't be allowed to take public funding. And
I guess what I'm kind of leaning towards is normally what you see across the board through some of these communist governments, and through a lot of, per se, even in the Americas, communist governments there, they've gone through purges through a lot of levels that have ended up having a lot of people die or be imprisoned. And so I guess...
those aren't really the best representations.
No,
I mean,
100% not. There's always bad and the good, for sure.
You can always say that about capitalism, too.
But I think in our specific scenario where you have communism and you have one guy who, in my opinion, as far as I know, there is no check and balance. There's only what you say and what your neighbors say.
Yeah.
And so there is... what I'm saying, I guess, is that there is no function or system that that person would be beholden to aside from you.
Technically, yes.
So if you have this person who ends up managing, per se, into some sort of media type connection, is there an instance where that person would end up abusing their connections to further their political life?
I'm going to say it again. Have they not already done that with capitalism?
I think we've already agreed it's corrupt.
Yeah, no. And there will always be corruption. That's nothing you can stop. What you can stop is people who take advantage of that power.
So we would still have like an anti-corruption department, essentially.
I mean,
because we would need to have functions within the governmental society to check this corruption.
Yes, and that exists a lot of times, even in those communist societies. I mean, it's hard to say because there's never been an implemented system, nor has there been a country that's this rich.
Yeah.
That's able to distribute its wealth in this way. I mean, we've got people making billions and billions and billions. Well,
shit, they said Musk could be a trillionaire by 27 or some bullshit. I was like, fucking sure. Off government fucking subsidies.
Damn. Out of all the people who are like, send him back to Africa, that should be the one.
Dude, that would be the day.
Yeah.
Trump just gets fucking sick of his shit. It's like, deport that motherfucker to Africa.
You know what? That might be the one time that I actually agree with him. But, I don't know. At the same time, he's already taken so much of our fucking tax dollars. And, dude, he's already done so much fucking damage. There's nothing we can...
It's unreal, man. Like, the amount of money that the IRS would have to take out of this motherfucker's pockets to offset, like, just the damage that Musk did with Doge as a whole. Like, fuck, dude.
Well, and see, here's the fucked up part is we look at our 401ks, we see that our amount that we have in this stock is our money. It's money that we're going to make in the future. Why don't we look at that as people who use that for their wealth? I mean, if you buy into stocks, it should be part of your fucking income. Unless you're not allowed to touch it and it's your fucking 401k.
I mean, I think stocks as a whole don't get taxed until you sell.
Exactly.
Unless you lose.
Which people have advisors for that.
dude,
Insider trading and everything
nuts.
like that.
The amount of, like, you can, from what I've come to understand, like we were talking about with the Musk trading and shit, You can essentially get your wealth. I guess I'm kind of seeing your point. You can get your wealth and stack it into stocks,
Yep.
and it doesn't count into what your taxable wealth bracket is.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still be known as a billionaire because your assets are in the billions, but you don't actually like cash money right now.
Have
You're
a
not going to
billion,
be
no.
taxed. You don't have that.
Exactly.
It's fucking nuts.
Yeah, exactly. And so you would have to find a way to regulate that market. I'm not an economist. I can't speak on that. But to find a way to end homelessness, I'm sure if all of those stock market funds and slush funds were either one, taxed appropriately, or two, it's take it all or end it.
Here's a proposition. Here's an idea. If there was a politician to run on a $4 billion package to end homelessness, to just outright across the country just focus on homelessness.
Well, in the United States, that'd be way more, but yeah.
As far as I remember, that's the figure I've seen for across the board.
That's
Putting
applying
people in
shelters and
homes.
halfway homes, yes.
Putting people in homes and dealing with getting them jobs, getting them trained up to be in a stable income position. 4 billion and up. Let's just assume that. If somebody were to run on that, is that something that you would vote for?
I mean, yeah, who wouldn't? But also look at it this way. You've got people telling you that you don't have a right to have a house because you don't work hard enough. How fucked up is that? You don't deserve basic necessities because
I mean, shit, dude.
you don't work as hard as me? That's
Let's be
fucking
honest.
weird.
Fucking society's been saying shit like that since fucking ages, man. You got the KKK, you got shit like that.
Okay,
Just
but we have a system built on that. That's capitalism.
I mean, fuck, they were cops. You know, a lot of them fucking guys were cops. They were actual FBI members and something. The fucking people that were in Fred Hampton's house, some of them were FBI members.
David Duke.
Fuck, yeah.
Yeah, that's I think my point stands. Yeah. No. So to give a resolution, those stocks either need to be all taken and then taxed, or we just take them from them. Because you know what? I don't give a shit. There's people literally starving on the streets, and you have the gall and audacity to hoard billions and then donate to fucking fundraisers that you built yourself that you're just pocketing back into your money. These people are literally just exploiting people. But once you say something about that, it's like, oh, well, this is a liberal. Well, first of all, no. I'm a far leftist. It's a difference. There's a complete difference. I mean, I believe that everybody should have equal opportunities. I'm not saying that you can't be rich. I'm saying that you don't need to be ultra rich and there shouldn't be people starving in the street. That shouldn't be a radical idea.
Yep.
And that it's seen as a radical idea is fucking insane to me.
I'd agree.
I'm sorry, but if somebody literally has schizophrenia living on the streets, that's morally, like, they're that way because they're fucking ill. They're mentally sick. You know, there's nothing they can do. And then they end up getting tossed around to a bunch of fucking group homes, and they don't have any stability when people like that should be living on their own. Instead, we have companies like BlackRock who have bought up half of our housing market in the United States.
Fucking Zillow.
Under banks, and
Shit,
they're inflating our rent. I mean, how much was your rent like 6 years ago versus now?
Fuck, dude. I remember being happy enough that I was paying like $300 for a third story like apartment.
Jesus.
And that was in fucking Galesburg. So like I think, you know, the crash really had a lot to do with
No, it
what
didn't.
that all, you
No.
know, just people hoarding land.
No, actually, while there was a crash, there was also a bunch of BlackRock representatives who bought up a bunch of properties. When they bought up those properties, they inflated the prices. Local landlords saw those prices and go off of what they see in the economy. And once they go off of that, they raise it up, and then the next guy raises it up, and it just keeps happening in a chain reaction circumstance. With COVID, they used that as a excuse, and then with COVID, there was a lot of traveling doctors, nurses. They've taken those properties at that time and they made them into Airbnbs. Those nurses and doctors who were no longer traveling because COVID, kind of stopped, they wanted to get their profits back. So they took those Airbnbs that they had and put them out for rent monthly for around Springfield here is a 2-bedroom is like $1,200 fucking dollars a month.
Jesus.
Yeah. I don't know what you pay, but Jesus, man. Yeah, so the housing market is kind of fucked up, but the renting market is even worse.
Yeah.
And the housing market is in this thing where it turns into a bid war with you and a bank, and you're never going to win over a bank. So, where communism helps, your corporation, you're not supposed to be here. Why are you buying up houses? So the government would then seize those houses so we can't exploit people for the cost of $1. I think that kind of makes more sense to explain communism that way as opposed to like, oh, well, you made money, and you're rich, so we're going to take it. No, it's not always that way. I mean, yeah, it should be that way. Because, just think of $1 billion. How many generations does that go down? I think it was like 36 or somewhere between 36 and 42.
Damn.
Yeah. And that's adjusting to economy, right? Because once you buy into a stock market and you just keep having your funds re-up, it's just reoccurring money. So I can't speak for how many generations that would actually be. You'd have to do a lot to blow through $1 billion, dude.
Yeah. Or fuck over a lot of people.
That's the problem.
Yep.
That's the problem. And the fact that they can't keep all their wealth, they're more willing to take care of their employees after that.
You would think that
wages would be higher.
That would happen, but it just so happens a lot of people end up being on SNAP and end up having to get governmental assistance.
Cool. You know where we get that money?
It's a funnel.
Do you know where we get that money?
From your pocket to their pocket to your pocket again, and it just keeps going.
Yeah, but the difference is that the government would be taking that amount of money, and if they don't want to pay you enough, they'll make up the difference, and they'll be paying their fair share. That makes more sense than just letting them exploit everybody around them.
100%.
In corporations and communist societies generally don't exist. They're looked down upon. Why corporations are so fucking sexualized in the United States is fucking insane.
Apple.
Yeah, no. People act like Steve Jobs invented the blowjobs. Dude, he made underspec hardware and put it in a phone, and just because they only allow... He didn't
even make it. Hold up. He didn't even... That was all Wazowski. What was his name? Wazowski?
Yep. Mike Wazowski. No, just kidding.
Fucking... the Waz.
But I think my point...
Wozniacki. That's his fucking...
Wozniacki. I think my point is that... just because that you have a good product doesn't mean that you should be able to exploit everybody around you. You look at Apple, they had underspec hardware even for the time, but all they did, they closed their app store off. And they said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to optimize every single thing that comes in our fucking app store. So it gives you the illusion that all of it runs better. While it does, you also have many issues of DRM. Do you know what DRM is?
No.
DRM is basically software that stops you from quote-unquote being a pirate. So you have to sign up for something to say that you're part of this service. And they basically have full control over that market.
Huh.
If you go to an Android market and you see that there's 10 million apps for one thing that does the same thing, that's why. Apple has proprietary hardware and software. It's not like a Windows where you build your parts and you put a PC. You make a PC. You make a PC and then you put any software you want in it. You can't do that with a Mac. You just buy a Mac and have what they offer you.
That makes it just makes it so much more crazier to think about the monopoly.
Well, and that's the
you
thing.
Just have over shit. Like,
yeah. And not to mention, there's a lot of people fighting for the right to repair laws against Apple.
That's nuts.
And in the UK, you know how Apple has their Thunderbolt plugins that you have to use.
Oh, the
with
C-type shit. They made it for that you have to have a C-type.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
Because yeah, that's understanding a market and helping citizens out. Because Apple is like the complete engineering of capitalism. And in any state, country, anything where they don't have that level of control, they're not on top.
Shit. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been our conversation on communism, socialism, and how its implementation would look on the world. And I'm hoping that you got a nice and informed view from a communist himself. And I would say a well-educated communist at that.
I don't know about that.
I hope that you guys had a good time. And Zach, do you have anything to say to the kind folks? Anything to plug before we go?
Check out my band Throne of Rot. I am a one-man death metal band. And I would like to tell you a story. It was a bright and shiny night. Two dead boys stood to fight. Back to front, they faced each other, drew their swords, and shot each other. A deaf policeman heard the noise, grabbed his gun, and stabbed the boys. If you do not believe this story is true, ask the blind man. He saw it too.
That is Zach Payne, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to go and check him out. His links will be down in the description. Thank you so much for coming through, Zach. It's always a pleasure to have you here and to chat it up and just get so much knowledge and information about all this stuff that I've never really been super acquainted into. And, you know, you have so much propagandistic and so much negative information on things that sometimes it can make up your whole viewpoint. And I just hope that, like me, some of you guys might have had that breakthrough. Some things aren't always as scary as they are.
Watch videos of Republicans going to China is the funniest shit you'll ever see. Have a good night.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for checking this out.